Hey everybody, welcome to the Logan Power Show. It's me, your host, Calvin Logan, the smiling guy, loving life, thanking God for every day He's woken me up. We're live here at the Scotts Grand, 5060 Dorchester Road here in Charleston, South Carolina. Before we start our show, we want to give our condolences and our prayers to everyone from the Emmanuel 9, from my brothers, my Marine Corps brothers in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and then secondly, for the two lovely ladies who sacrificed their lives in Lafayette, Louisiana. We know that lives have been taken, and we know that it's been heartfelt in these past couple months here in the United States, and all we do here at the Logan Power Show is pray for peace and healing, and we want all those to know that we care for, and we love you, and we have you in our prayers. But right now, I got with me an important topic to talk about. I got with me Dr. Marvella Ford from MUSC Harlingen Center. How you doing today?
Good morning. Good afternoon. It's so good to see you.
Good to see you also. Now she's back here with us to talk about more things that's going on that they are offering to us that's going to benefit us. Because like I said, she is our help and we're the customer. So we got to know what kind of things is going to help us for our lifelong. You know, for me, I don't want to be a person that have all the money in the world, but I'm not healthy. So definitely, I'm going to do less of the talking. Let Dr. Ford tell us what they are doing right now at MUSC, things that's going to help us out today.
Well, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, and I'm very excited to talk with you today about obesity and health.
Okay.
And sometimes when we think about health, we don't like the O word, right? The obesity word. Mm-hmm. It's something that we don't like to think about. When we think about health, we think about medication, we think about doctor's visits, we think about seeing a doctor that we have a good relationship with, but sometimes we don't take a step back and think, what else is health made up of? Mm-hmm. And you made an excellent point. Our goal is to have long and healthy lives. We want to be in the best health we can be in. We know that we pay a lot of attention to our spiritual lives. We are in the Word. We study the Word. We pray, but what do we do for our physical bodies? Do we give the same attention? So I really appreciated your words at the beginning, giving the condolences. We live in a day and age of stress. We have a lot of stressors. Sometimes we feel stressed and pressed, and sometimes even in distress, right? But we, as a people, do not have to suffer the negative consequences of stress.
Okay.
We can make changes so that we don't have to have bad health because of the stress that we're in.
Sure.
We know that we have stressors on every side. There are financial stressors, we have family stressors, we have stressors on the job. These are very real things. But today, if we can just spend a few minutes talking about how we can cope with these stressors in a way that will enhance our health and not take away from our health.
Gotcha. Yeah, stress is one of the biggest things I know that affects a lot of different people. For me, being in the military 14 plus years, that can be a stressor. For people who are a parent, I'm a parent also of 3, that can be a stressor. Life in general, being married for 10 plus years, that can be a stressor if you don't know how to balance the time with your family. So definitely, let's focus on, you mentioned obesity. That's a big thing. I know for me, just talking about me personally, Calvin, I said I don't want to be to the point that my wife has to take care of me because of mistakes that I've made. That's just talking about myself. For me, I never smoked in my life, any kind of drugs, never went into drinking. My biggest problem growing up was women. So that's Calvin's fault. Now that can be a stressor too now if you're doing the wrong things and cause them to have problems. But obesity is one of the biggest things that's a problem in our nation. We have the greatest nation in the world. You can get anything you want from fast food to a great meal. But in society, to be quite honest, junk food is a lot cheaper than the healthy food. So I think that's one of the biggest things we have to have the understanding is that we have that balance. So tell us about these things that we need to work on.
So obesity is really at the center of a lot of diseases. We think about sometimes the relationship between overweight and obesity and things like heart disease. But we don't realize all the time that obesity is also related to diabetes. It's related to acid reflux and cancer. Even something like sleep apnea if we keep waking up during the night because we stop breathing, that's related to obesity as well. So obesity is really at the center of all of these different diseases. And a lot of times we talk about each disease separately, but if we talk about obesity, that's a way that we can reduce our risk of getting any of these diseases: high blood pressure, acid reflux, diabetes. And if we already have those diseases, if we lower our rates of obesity, if we lose weight and eat right and exercise, then we can reduce the negative aspects of those diseases on our bodies. So let's talk about what it means to be physically active, to eat right. What does that mean practically? So I'm so glad you mentioned cost, because really, if we think about it, there are ways to eat well cheaply.
Okay.
We can even go to the dollar store. A lot of dollar stores have food sections. You can get frozen vegetables for a cheap price at the dollar store. Frozen vegetables are very healthy.
Okay.
We don't always have to go to one of the boutique, organic stores to get our vegetables. We can go to the dollar store. There are lots of other discount stores that have vegetables for a very cheap price that are much less. So there are ways to eat well for a little bit of money. One of the healthy meals really is like beans and rice. That's very cheap.
Okay.
You can feed a lot of people with a pack of beans and some rice. And you have protein. You do have the carbs, so you don't want to eat so much rice, just
Sure.
a little bit. But that's a good way to get protein. Beans are very inexpensive in the grocery store.
Okay.
So we can do this, but we have to do it mindfully. We have to think about what we're doing and put our minds to it. If we go the easy route, it's easy to pull into a fast food restaurant and order something off the 99-cent menu.
Guilty for that.
I mean, but if we are mindful, if we plan our day, if we think about where we're going and where we can eat healthy food, even if it means putting a cooler in the back of the car, filling it with ice, putting some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in. It's better to drive that cooler around and give your kids peanut butter and jelly sandwiches during the day than to keep feeding fast food. Because the problem is our bodies were not designed to handle all of these processed foods.
Okay.
Our bodies were created to eat whole foods, whole vegetables. And something that's interesting, I always thought tofu was very healthy. We've seen the tofu in the blocks that's in the big white blocks at the store.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing a good thing by eating tofu. Tofu is a very highly processed form of the soybean. So that's a highly processed food. It's not that healthy for you, actually. It's a good source of protein, but it was really made in a factory. They took the bean and they processed it and made it in a factory.
Wow.
So
the thing is that, you're giving some great, I guess, facts. You think about rice, beans. Now, when you mention about rice, there's different forms of rice. I love me some red rice. I'm going to tell you that right now. I am guilty. I don't do the white rice, okay? I love me some red rice. My wife got me hooked up on it. I came to the South, and I love my southern red rice. Then you have people that say, okay, brown rice, white rice. You think about beans. Now, what can consider would be a good combination? Are you talking about the black beans or red beans?
Really, any kind of bean is good. Beans are sources of protein. Okay. They are great. They have some carbohydrates as well, but they're a good source of protein, and they are very inexpensive. So black beans, kidney beans, pinto beans, all kinds of beans are really healthy. You can't go wrong with beans. And the way to cut down on the rice is to have a bigger portion of beans than rice. Okay. Have a very small portion of rice and a large portion of beans. All right. So the bean to rice ratio has to be higher on the bean side.
So more beans, less rice.
More beans, less rice. A little rice because we want to eat everything in moderation. Okay. But just a little rice. Okay. We get a big, huge, like 2 cups of rice, and that's a serving. But we call that a serving. But a serving of rice is actually much smaller than that. So we want to keep the ratio of beans to rice heavy on the bean side. That's just an example of a way to eat healthy food in a very cheap, inexpensive way. Okay, so we got the beans and rice. That's one aspect that help us as being a healthy society. What's another aspect that we need to look out for to help us as being a healthy society? Yes, so eating vegetables, if that means going to the dollar store and getting frozen vegetables, I eat a lot of frozen vegetables. Okay. They're very easy to cook. They retain a lot of the nutrients, and they're cheap. The other thing we have here in South Carolina, we have a lot of farmers who have farmers markets. They're selling produce out of their trucks. In the summer, you can see them, and it really, if you go toward the end of the day, they're practically giving the produce away because they don't want to take it back home with them. So here we have a chance. We have about 3 growing seasons here in South Carolina.
Okay.
So we have a chance really year-round to eat a lot of fresh produce at a very inexpensive price.
All right. So a lot of things you're telling us right now is going to require some more extra legwork.
Yes.
Because you think about farmers market, let's be honest, someone's saying I open up my car trunk and I got some celery, tomatoes, I got things that's going to benefit me. Now, for me, my father grew up in Alabama, Haynesville, Alabama, raised on a farm. I was born in California. I'm big into the fruits. My dad was a big fruit person. Son, you got to have your oranges, your grapes, nectarines. But they're kind of expensive, but the benefit of the health is a whole other level. But you're saying about farmers market. So first thing is that it was to require some legwork. Yes. So for those out there that's listening, farmers market is great. I don't know I've been to some great ones myself. The cost is definitely less expensive than going to the grocery store, but it's require you to drive and find out who's selling something and what they're actually charging for it. So definitely some great points there. So definitely got my beans. Now you mentioned the frozen vegetables. Now for me, let's talk about Calvin now. Mm-hmm. I've had some frozen vegetables, and I got to put something on it. Some extra butter, some salt and pepper, something that's gonna make it taste right. Because bland stuff, I just can't do it. So what are some ways I can just spice it just a tad bit without raising the bar for me?
That is a great question. So there are a lot of good spices that you can add, herbs that you can add to the vegetables.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you just open the bag of vegetables and put it in the pan and then eat it that way. You can cook it the way you want it to your taste.
Gotcha.
And when you make it, it will taste delicious because it's made the way you want it.
Okay.
It is tailor-made for you. And so you will get more enjoyment out of that than just about anything you can get anywhere else, because where else can you go where the food is made just for you except in your own kitchen, right? That's the place where we make it the way we like it, and we always have a good product because we make it for our taste.
Definitely. So you're giving us some insight there. What else do we need to focus on to make us a healthy person so that we don't be affected down the road?
That's great. Thank you. And First Lady Michelle Obama has the right idea. Let's move.
Okay.
So she said, let's move. We're sitting too much. We've made our lives so high-tech and so convenient that we don't even have to move. We have the remote control. We don't have to get out of our chair. We sit there. We have our snacks all around us on a table, so all we do is just lift our hands and eat. We don't have to move. But what she's saying is that lifestyle is killing us.
Okay.
That lifestyle of convenience is killing us. We have to make our lives a little more inconvenient for life, which means getting up. We've got to move. Build in daily exercise every day. I can tell you my personal story. I have been diagnosed with breast cancer twice. The first time was in 2008. The second time was in 2013, and I praise God that it was at stage 0 each time. But one of the last times I was in the hospital, I was lying in bed looking out at people at the MUSC Wellness Center who were working out. I could see inside the gym, and they were working out, they were running, they were lifting weights, they were on the track, and I was lying there thinking, wow, I really wish I was with them, and I wonder if I had been doing that consistently, would I be here now? And so in January of this year, I started a program. It's physical activity. We started working out 7 days a week. The program ended in March. Now I'm doing 6 days a week.
Okay.
And basically, it's building physical activity into life every single day, doing something active. I did an African dance class this morning here in North Charleston. It was wonderful. For an hour, just dancing. It's so freeing. And so moving, our bodies were intended to move. When we start to have arthritis and stiffness in our joints is when we've been sitting too long. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is we think, oh, I'm too stiff, I can't move. But what I learned in the program is exercise is like oil for our joints. The more we exercise, even if it's a little painful at the beginning, our joints loosen up and they get lubricated and they start flowing freely, and pretty soon we're moving, we're running. I'm up to 2 miles now on the track.
Okay.
That was unheard of when I was here the last time. Could not have done that the last time I was here.
Okay.
I've lost 60 pounds since January, still losing, still on the journey. It's a lifelong journey. But It's the question you raised. What kind of life do we want to have in the future? And what we have to remember is the life of health that we want to have in the future, we are actually paving the way for that now. So all the things that we're doing now will affect our health in the future. If we want the life of convenience, we want to move as little as possible, eat as much of the food we like, cheese, all kinds of high-fat foods because they taste good. That's, we can do that now, but we will see the consequences down the road.
Gotcha.
And what happens with African Americans is, it's not that we age prematurely, but a lot of these chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, acid reflux, we are diagnosed on average about 10 to 15 years earlier than European Americans. And a lot of that is due to overweight and obesity. And I don't want to minimize the stress that we as African Americans face. We are under stress every single day of our lives.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter what our income is, it doesn't matter what our age is. The young kids are stressed, the old people are stressed, people with higher incomes are stressed, people with lower incomes are stressed.
Gotcha.
They're just different stressors, because if you are black in America, you're going to face stress. That's just a fact.
Wow.
This is a culture that we have a lot of issues that we are overcoming in this culture. The question is, how can we deal with stress in a way that is beneficial to us so that we don't become victims?
You're basically a great point. And like I said, a lot of people is looking at right now, you look at Dr. Ford at this moment, and you say, like, man, that lady went through cancer twice. She did something that was very profound. I was in the actual hospital room on my bed, and I looked out, and I saw other people exercising, and I said to myself, I was given one more chance, I will get my life together. So for those that are watching out here, it's not trying to basically scare you, it's just a wake-up call. Yeah. That the exterior, you look at somebody and say, oh man, the person looks great, phenomenal, understand this, they've been through something, their walk of life is different, and I brought this person here to let you know that God can do it for you also, and that you can't overcome. So I want to thank you again for coming on the show. And I told you we'll have Dr. Ford come back here more to talk about other things that's going on. The information's on the screen. I want to let everybody know that, like this right now, you got to exercise. For me, I'm doing it myself. The joints, get it going, get the blood flowing. But we care about you. We love y'all. We will see you soon. Thanks for being the best part of the Logan Power Show, and we will see you soon.